Earnings season is here, starting with the banks. This is something that everyone has been paying attention to because, of course, we had Silicon Valley Bank, we had Credit Suisse, we had UBS. It's a massive developing situation, and we're going to get a look not just into the financials from this past quarter, but forward guidance, which is going to be the key to figuring out, do we continue to spiral down a hole here? I'm Gav Blacksburg from Wolf Financial. I'm here with Evan from Stock Market News. We're going to cover that plus everything else you need to know to be a great investor this week. Let's get right into things with a look at earnings. Starting off, there's not much during the week, but of course, you have a full slate on Friday. You want to cover what we're looking at there, Evan?
Yeah, so you kind of it doesn't really look like this would be the start of earnings season, but Friday is when it really picks up. We have those bank earnings, and that does signify the start of earnings season each cycle. But even before that, a little bit, we do have Delta as well Thursday before the close. We'll give some good insight into the airline industry, and then we also have LVMH, which is a luxury brand, not really traded too much here by a lot of you guys, but still is a closely watched company. But yeah, all the focus is in on Friday, and we do have the expectations in here as well. We're not going to read all of these off to you. You can kind of see them for yourselves, and on the screen, it's just kind of maybe something you guys want to come back to on Friday. This is the time to expect the numbers to be released, followed by the earnings call, which will be at different times throughout the day on Friday, and then the EPS expectation, and then the revenue expectation as well. You can see United Healthcare, $90 billion. It's a lot of money, but the type of company it is not going to have a huge PE. And then BlackRock for me, BlackRock and JP Morgan are the two that I'll be the most fascinated by on this one. Well, which one do you think you'll be focused on, Wolf?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely going to be JPM. JP Morgan has kind of been
Biggest bank.
heralded as the know-it-all, right? We listen to Jamie Dimon and everything that he says, and everyone's kind of said, like, when it comes down to, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, those are kind of the final stands and they can't go anywhere, right? So looking at this, they're certainly expected to have some pretty large earnings there, $36 billion. And the cool part is we're actually going to know this in the morning on Friday as well. So I think that that'll be pretty interesting to see. Those are the ones that
Wolf,
stand out to me the most. Yeah.
yeah, just one last thing to add. You did make a point that I want to touch on. We are going to hear from all the CEOs of these companies as well. And Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan, a lot of people do like to listen to what he says. And he just did release his annual letter. So maybe he'll be reiterating stuff from that. But I still think the earnings calls for these bank CEOs will be really interesting. And we'll learn a lot about how they're feeling about the economy and everything that just happened in their sector. But we are moving forward and looking on at the macro events and Fed speakers coming up this week. We have a lot of Fed presidents, and we were just talking about earnings season there, but we have one of the biggest macro events that comes at each month, and that is CPI inflation. The market is super, super focused on that. That should be out at Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. I know it doesn't say the forecast on here, but the median forecast for CPI year over year is plus 5.2%, and that's down from plus 6% year over year in the last month. And for February, I almost said last quarter. And then CPI month over month is expected to be plus 0.3% compared to plus 0.4% from last month. So even if you annualize out that plus 3% number and you get 12, that's 3.6% inflation. So that's kind of the annualized expectation. That's still above the 2% that the Fed does want. So we're still not quite there, and we'll see kind of how they react to this. But 5.2 is the number that you guys have to keep on watch as the bar of if we'll have a good CPI report or bad CPI report. But Wolf, is there anything on this first page, Monday through Wednesday, that's standing out to you?
Yeah, first off, everybody, if you made it this far in the video, please go ahead and hit the like button. It does wonders for the YouTube algo to get this out to more people so that more can learn and be prepared for the massive economic events that we do have appearing this week. I think it's just interesting. We're continuing to see this move down when it looks at CPI, right? We're continuing to see inflation potentially becoming more under control. And we all know that it's as well a lagging indicator. People often look at it as about 9-month lag on CPI. So just continuing to see that number come down. The goal, as we all know, is 2%. That's what the Fed's reiterated. And why does this matter? It matters because it factors into rate hikes, right? And ultimately, if we can continue to get this number coming down, the hope is we can see one more rate hike of 25 basis points and be finished after that. And that is right now what CME FedWatch is leaning towards. at least as when it comes to expectations. Do you want me to roll into the latter part of the week, Evan?
Just very quickly, the last thing on Wednesday, the minutes from the last FOMC meeting, I do think will be interesting. So normally I don't find those meetings that fascinating because we do hear so much from these Fed presidents speaking 50 times a day. But obviously they were in the quiet period, and then we had the FOM speech, and we've heard them a little bit, but it would be very interesting to hear what they were talking about in that meeting and hear how the overall tenor was. So and like how many people were voting each direction. So that's actually something that I will be watching very closely. And then on Thursday and Friday, the biggest thing for me is PPI to keep on watch. That is coming out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern on Thursday. The expectation for PPI is plus 3.1% year over year, which is quite a large drop from last month of 4.6%. So we'll have to see really what's happening there. And then the month over month expectation is plus 0.1%. Compared to minus 0.1% from last month. So PPI definitely a watch. Then also those jobless claims will be definitely something that the market watches. But I don't know if there's anything else in here that you're fascinated by, Wolf.
Not too much else. I think you covered it
Perfect.
pretty well. Let's roll into some of the other big stories of the week, starting out with the Honorable Nancy Pelosi, who placed this trade. Actually, this was placed a few weeks ago, right? But this is when we actually finally got the filing date of a large purchase of Apple shares.
Yeah, so these are really stories from the last 24 hours of when we were filming it. So Friday night, Saturday morning. And this is a trade that Nancy Pelosi made. Now, as Wolf said there, don't ask us why they get to wait a month after they make the trades to actually come in and file it. But here we are seeing this. She bought these call options. She bought them deep in the money, so she would have paid a large premium up front, but she exercised them here. And that other company is a investment company that has a luxury hotel property in San Francisco that she is also involved with. So, couple stuff there. Nancy Pelosi deploying a little bit cash on some of those calls. She had everyone likes to watch Nancy. I wonder how many more plays we're going to get from her as she is leaving her role in office. So that's something to keep out for. But continuing on, we also had Tesla announcing a bunch of price cuts across their lineup in the U.S. For as much as $5,000. The base cost of the Model 3 went down by $1,000, as you can see there. Tesla pricing has been a very, very interesting conversation around them recently, and it's been affecting the entire industry. So definitely something to keep on watch. Tesla is adjusting their prices very, very quickly. Been known to do that in the past and are continuing to do it now. They do have their earnings in a couple weeks at this point, so we will get to see how their margins and how the profitability of it will be. That's definitely going to be very interesting and must be kept on watch. But yeah, some interesting stuff around Tesla. And then the last story here, ExxonMobil has reportedly held preliminary talks with Pioneer, ticker PXD, about a possible acquisition. So the deal is still very early days, and it could be not materialized, or it could turn out that Exxon is looking at a different company or ends up looking at a different company. But bottom line is, based on the report, ExxonMobil is said to be on the hunt for a very, very large deal, and that's according to the Wall Street Journal. So we'll have to see and see how that does. But I think that's a couple of the biggest stories over the last little bit. Wolf, if you have anything, first of all, if you've enjoyed the video, make sure you leave it a like, drop a comment, make sure you subscribe to our channel. But yeah, Wolf, anything else you want to leave people with?
Yeah, I think we're going to get a big move on Tesla on Monday. Hard to tell whether that's up or down. There was some other news this weekend around them too, but I'm looking for a 3 to 5% move one way or the other. So I'll probably be trading Tesla with XOM. Really interesting sector, XOM and Oxy, and the way that they go back and forth. So super exciting to see oil have this huge move, have it continue, have backing from Buffett. That's everything from myself today. Thank you to Stock Market News for doing this video with me. If you enjoyed it, like he said, make sure you hit the like button. We'll see you in the next one.